So welcome, Elaine, to the Zoom room again for another session. Lots of letting go session. So let's dive into today's email. There's some related teachings on that. And we'll then go into our lesson for today, which is Workbook Lesson 359. So let me just get the live stream going, then I'll share my screen with you. Okie dokie. So let's share my screen. Okay. All right. So if you can read that headline quote for us to kick it off.
You know you have made the right decision when there is peace in your heart.
Lovely quote, actually, from a South African businessman. And in answer to the question, how do I know when the guidance I'm getting is from my higher self or my ego? That's I think you've probably asked me that before, Elaine, and it's a common question. How do I know? And this quote gives the answer from a businessman, actually, who I met. Was trying to do some business with him a couple of years ago, and he was putting out quotes on LinkedIn, and this is one of them. I thought, yeah, okay, that's really profound. It's a beautiful summary of how one determines this. All you need to do is ask yourself if the decision leads to a feeling of peace in your heart or not. That's really the question. Am I at peace? Or does it feel difficult, challenging? Am I emotionally turbulated? If it doesn't feel peaceful, then the guidance isn't coming from your higher self, but from your ego belief in separation. It's as simple as that. Fear really is what keeps us from listening to the voice of our higher self, which is also known as intuition, Holy Spirit, or remembrance of perfect love, that wants to guide us to live in an expansive state of mind beyond all fear, and therefore beyond the ego. Fear of what, you might ask? Well, on the surface level, you may think you fear you'll fail and be judged by other people for your failure, or perhaps you fear losing what you currently have in your life, whether it's money, possessions, status, special relationships, health, or your human life in the end. You fear death. But what you really fear underneath the surface level of fear is that you'll lose your special identity, otherwise known as your ego. And so your imagined existence as a separate self is threatened by any attempt to overcome fear and live a more inspired life, which you open to the flow of life and wanting to follow its guidance without resistance. Because fear is just resistance to this flow. That's all it is. It's a resistance to the flow of life. So Marcel Proust, influential French, or Proust, however you said, French author, remarked that the true adventure in life is seeing everything with fresh eyes, of forgiveness untainted by fear, rather than traveling anywhere or undertaking some new adventure. Do you want to read that quote, Elaine?
The voyage of discovery is not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes.
Which is quite profound as well, isn't it? Not in seeking new landscapes. Oh, I'm going to go and explore the world and find some new landscape, find some new holiday destination. It's actually about a change of perception. So the change of location and scene may well happen. They're helpful in your journey of overcoming fear, which is the hero's journey. They're not the end goal, but rather a means of awakening you to the knowledge of who you really are. So we discussed how to discern the difference between the guidance of the ego and the Holy Spirit, and what a miracle is in some depth in that was bonus session. So definitely worth listening to that, which was a very profound session. We can discuss that now. So the way to tell the difference between the guidance of the ego and the Holy Spirit is by the feeling you have. If you feel peaceful, if you feel quite calm about it, it's not necessarily that overtly strong, but there's a kind of quite a subtle feeling of, yes, I'm feeling called to do that. It's more like a pulling power. I think, as I describe it, the difference between the Holy Spirit is that it kind of gently pulls you, whereas the ego pushes, and not gently. It's always quite aggressive and be violent. So it's pushing you to do something. Whenever you have a very strong, like, yeah, no, I've got to do that, and there's a desperation kind of quality to it, that's ego. Holy Spirit works more subtly, more gently. But that power is still there. It's still very powerful. It's persistent. It's a bit like the drop of water. You just drop water consistently and persistently onto rock, and it forms stalactites or stalagmites over time. So it's like it just keeps going. It's just dripping away. It's not overtly like, wow, I've got to do this now, but there's something there. And so we have to discover that for ourselves. This is part of our learning, right? Discover, well, what does it feel like when you're in flow? What does it feel like when you are guided by the Holy Spirit, as opposed to you're not guided? And with choices based on that discernment, you can choose the one state of mind and feeling over the other. And then you can choose miracles. The miracle is just, remember, a shift in perception. It's a change from a negative thought and emotion to one that is opposite, to one that is inherently positive and inspiring. That's what a miracle is. So the miracle is the shift from the one state to another. And how do you shift? Well, you've got to discern the difference between the states first. Okay, well, I'm feeling this way, but I know that I could be feeling another way because I know what the other state is. I've had that experience before. So I can now choose to let go of the one and embrace the other with that discernment. But if you don't know the difference, then you can't choose accurately, and the miracle is elusive. Does that make sense?
It does.
The discernment is key. So it starts with awareness always. Okay, so what is your awareness? Can you be aware of the ego as it arises and discern the difference between it and the Holy Spirit? And that's really what a major part of this course is dedicated to training you to do.
Well, I'm at the stage where, sorry, yes, I do know the difference. I do know the difference, but the ego's very powerful. Very, it is work in progress. Even that you know it's taken you over, so you just have to practice. So I do, yeah. Sorry, yes, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You just it's ongoing. But at least you know. So if you know what that difference is, then you can practice and you can practice
Yeah,
refining it and
yeah,
honing it.
yeah,
Okay, so let me be more aware of that difference. And when the ego comes up, as it will, I'm very vigilant for it. I'm very aware of it. And immediately I've got a number of ways of dealing with it.
yeah.
So you do a
Initially,
meditation, you do a breath break, maybe you do another
yeah,
process like the 10-step letting go. And because you're vigilant and you know what it is, you're on your guard and you can immediately take some action. Most people don't have that awareness and that vigilance. So the ego just hijacks them and they get taken over periodically or sometimes for very long periods of
yeah,
time.
yeah. There
That
are
becomes
certain
the default state.
situations that still hijack you, even though you know only too well that it's just an illusion and it's going to change, it's not permanent, all of those things. And yet it can sometimes be, as you say, sticky. It can be a bit sticky. So when you're doing this training, initially it is overwhelming actually, because it's incredible how noisy that ego is. Very noisy. And undoing it, it's yeah, quite overwhelming initially, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it can be. And so the approach is really just daily practice, be systematic about it.
Yeah,
The course is brilliant in the way it's designed because he starts on a very low level. He says, I
yeah.
want 3 minutes a day. I want, I think it's even two. So it's two times 1 minute of
Oh,
practice a day.
yes.
Okay, well, anyone can do that. So let's start small with some basic
Yeah.
exercise, and then you work up from there.
And then it's
And so
on the hour,
eventually you
isn't
might be
it?
practicing it for many hours a day, but you've got to start somewhere. So he
Yeah,
starts us on a very basic level, and then it progresses as
yeah.
any good course would. You wouldn't throw someone in the deep end to start with,
No,
because
no, it's too
they just wouldn't
overwhelming.
understand and they'd get overwhelmed. And so he's
And then
designed
once,
it from the point of view of, okay, this needs to be doable. So the first few lessons are very simple, they're not long. Just okay, you're going to practice this for a minute, twice a day, and then gradually it gets increased. And you're like, okay, so now it's asking for 5 minutes. But even at its highest point, the workbook, it doesn't have to take more than an hour a day. He's never actually asking you to do hours and hours. He's saying, well,
no,
maybe you practice this for an hour a day, twice in the day, morning and evening, and then in between, top yourself up. So that might be an hour, maximum an hour and a half a day, which is doable. That's
oh,
not
it
out
is.
of the reach of
Well, it's
just
little and
normal
often,
people.
isn't it? It's more
Hmm?
like sort of trying to get into the practice of on top of the hour, or well, it doesn't have to be on top of the hour, but and then just do that lesson on that hour. So when you feel this emotions coming up, then of course you put it immediately into practice. But an hour is doable, whereas if you think, oh, I'm going to be feeling like
Yeah,
this all day and tomorrow and whenever. So the hour, I quite like that idea on the hour. So you know that you've only got an
yeah,
hour just to try and get yourself out of the ego. Yeah.
yeah. The idea of the regular practice is that you don't go for too long without some practice,
Yeah.
even if it's
Yeah.
a minute or
Definitely.
two. You remind yourself. It's like because he knows how persistent the ego is, and that it's your default
Very.
thought system, and you've been thinking this way for a very long time. So you've got to counter it with a similarly detailed and disciplined program of mind training that helps you to systematically and progressively undo the ego. And that's exactly what the workbook is. It's a systematic, progressive course for undoing your ego mind,
Mm. Yeah.
which is why it's so powerful. It's step by step, it's experiential, it requires your active participation, and so you learn it by doing it, as any good course should be. It's not just theoretical; it's quite practical.
Well, I'm doing it all over again. this year, so I'll try and be more diligent.
Yeah, yeah, and you just take it to another level. You try and do it better. I think for you, Elaine, what because I know you didn't really crack the the hourly practice periods.
No.
If you could to the habit of doing that,
Yep.
I think that's really the kind of gold standard of doing this workbook. You're actually able to practice it hourly, just for the 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah,
it might
that's where
always be possible if you're in the middle of working or something, but
no.
a lot of the time you could do it. You've got the time, you're at home.
Oh yes, yes.
Why you couldn't take 5 minutes on every hour and just do it, and that would take your practice to another level. There's no doubt.
That's that's where I need to improve on. Yeah, a bit more diligent with that. I mean, I'm happy enough with attending allied courses and the reading, but the practice is still definitely needs to be.
So that's where you can go. It's okay. So let me try and get into a regular routine of practicing these lessons frequently, throughout the day.
That's where I would fail.
Yeah, see what happens when I do that, because you will see shifts and changes happening in your mind and in your life that are positive and beneficial, and then you don't really need more motivation than that. You can see it works.
Yeah. So we all have our weaknesses and strengths. Yeah. So as I say, I'm great at reading it, but it's certainly the practice. It's actually doing it. Yeah.
And you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it so that you can stay much more in tune with the Holy Spirit. You're not giving the ego any leeway.
Exactly.
It's a gift to yourself. It's not a chore. So every 5 minutes of every hour, I'm dedicating to my higher self and to connecting with that self, and it feels lovely when you do.
Oh yeah.
It's not a chore. It's a very nice connected feeling. You keep reconnecting with it. You become more and more rooted in it.
Yeah. So yes, more practice needed with that, but yeah.
So for your goal for this year could be, okay, let me get much more diligent in my practice.
That's where I've been a bit weak.
A frequent basis.
Yeah.
And you set the intention, and then you create a system that will help you do that. So you've got all the recordings for the day on your phone, so that's that part sorted. The system would be, well, let me get a reminder on my phone or some other device.
I did actually try that reminder one, and the bell would go off every hour, but it always seemed like I was doing a massage, or it was started to become a bit of a nuisance. So that didn't really work for me, particularly the little bell going off every hour.
Yeah.
So it's finding something that will work for me. Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe it's not every hour. Maybe it's every 2 hours. And just as a reminder. And then you say, okay, well, if I'm busy at the moment, then I'll do it as soon as I can. Yeah. If there's no good reason not to do it, then I do it immediately. I think that kind of discipline is essential, because otherwise it's very easy to go, oh, I got the bell, but I just ignore it.
Yeah, which is what I was doing.
And I ignore it. Well, there's no point then in having
it was
the bell.
Actually, it was always seemed to go off at the sort of not quite the right time. So I thought it was getting to be a bit of a nuisance. So that's that's the ego again using its yes. Yeah. So try again, get back up again and try again.
Yeah, and try and create a system that works for you. Okay, so let's find a way that could work of reminding myself.
Yeah.
So that's I can actually do this, because if I do this and I'm really diligent in it, who knows what might happen in your awakening.
It's better than doing nothing.
So it's well worth the effort. Yeah, well, exactly. You're moving in the right direction, at least.
Yeah.
Leads us into the lesson and the insert. So let's have a look at that. Lesson 359. And let's do the insert first on what am I? So this is an answer to the question, what am I? Can read that, Elaine, and we just do it in the alternative, please.
Yeah. I am God. Oh, sorry, where am I? Am I in the alternative? Yeah. I am perfect love's extension. Yeah. I am perfect love's extension, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of its love. Its extension is honored and guaranteed eternal life in me. In me, love is perfected, fear is impossible, and joy is established without opposite. I am the innocent home of perfect love itself. I am a state of pure formless awareness in which its love resides. I am its pure innocence itself, for in my purity lives its own. So it's just again saying about our state of perfect love and our extensions, that it's a shining reflection of love. It's guaranteed eternal life. It's impossible for fear. And there is no opposite to joy. There is just that. And in this state of pure formless awareness is where the love resides, in pure innocence. Yeah.
Yeah, pointing us to this top level domain. If you look at so look, have I got this? Yeah. Pure formless awareness of perfect love or knowledge, revelation, heaven, whatever you want to call it. He's pointing us to that transcendent state. And we access this via the true self. He's giving us the absolute purity of this. Innocent home of pure, perfect love itself. I'm the state of pure formless awareness. I have eternal life. Cannot die. And so it is. He's using the words, as he says here, just to point us to a state of mind beyond words. So as he says, our use for words is almost over. In the final days of this 1 year, we gave to guide all pure formless awareness of perfect love together with Yeshua as our guide, we found a single purpose that we shared. So we join in this common purpose, which is to awaken. That common purpose unites us, and it unites us with our source, Yeshua. So if you want to read number 2.
Our use for words is almost over now, yet in the final days of this 1 year, I gave to pure formless awareness of perfect love together with Yeshua. We found a single purpose that we shared, and so I joined with him for what I am. He is as well. The truth of what we are is not for words to speak of or describe, yet we can realize our function here, and if we live by the words in us, words can speak of this and teach it too. So we're coming to the part where words are now over, and describing it is coming to an end, and we realize what our function is here. And although we will have words within us, but those words will go towards this teaching, towards perfect love and nothing else.
So they pointers, signposts on the journey. And when you attain to the final journey, to the final end destination. There's no more need for signposts, is there? But he's saying, while we're still here, we can realize our function here, and we can live by the words in us. Words can speak of this and teach it too, which is what the Course aims to do with its many words. But he's pointing us ultimately to a state that is completely transcendent of words. And in pure formless awareness of perfect love, then no words are needed. This is a purely experiential state. Okay. Any other thoughts on that, Elaine?
No, that's clear.
That sounds not big enough for.
No, so number 3.
Right.
Okay. See you later.
Yeah, come on then. I am the bringer of freedom. I accept my part in the awakening of the world. Oh, just 2 seconds.
Okay, I'll read it if you can't read. So I'm the bringer of freedom. Okay, you okay to read?
Yeah, sorry, it's just I've just got a little chore, Dave's just getting you some information there. I think we're okay. Yeah, you got it? Right. Sorry, I'll read that again. I am the bringer of freedom. I accept my part in the awakening of the world, which is freed through our joint letting go. And being my gift, this is therefore given to me. I perceive everyone as a companion and every event and circumstance as beneficial and good. I do not seek a function that is past the beginning of the state of pure formless awareness. Knowledge will return when I have done my part. I am concerned only with giving welcome, to the truth. So it's just saying that we're now the bringer of freedom, and we accept our part in awakening the whole world, which will then in turn be a joint letting go. So our main concern is just to welcome in the truth. This is our aim in life, to find the truth.
Yeah. Perceive everyone as a companion. So he always brings in people, almost every passage, every part of the Course. It's bringing in others and our perception of others. Perceive everyone as a companion, and every event and circumstance is beneficial and good. All things as kindly and as good. And that is quite a teaching, isn't it? Everything is kindly and good. Wow. Now you think of all the sometimes really horrendous things that happen in this world, seemingly horrendous things that happen to people.
Oh, yeah, very
Accidents, disasters, sickness, pain,
war,
suffering, death. And he's saying, but all things are beneficial and good. It's a complete turnaround of the ego's dream of death and disaster.
Yeah.
So even when those disastrous things are seemingly happening, they are still beneficial and good. This is what he's saying. And the only way you can see them as beneficial and good is to let go of your existing perception of it, which is that they're horrible, disastrous, awful, you're suffering because of them, etc. You have to see that it's actually happening for you to help you to free your mind, to help you awaken. That's why these seemingly terrible things happen, because they are then obviously necessary because they're happening to help you free your mind from this really negative thought system of the ego by demonstrating its thought system to you in practice in your life. So you see these things in the mirror of the world, and you then have a choice. Do I like this? Is this something I want? Or do I not? Would I rather have another kind of reality? So it forces you to choose, which is the great benefit of any traumatic, challenging event and circumstance.
Yeah.
You must choose. So he's saying, choose the truth, concerned only with giving welcome to the truth. Choose the truth over the illusion, and focus your efforts where they need to be at the moment. You can't go straight into pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's transcendent. That's too high initially. So focus on the correction of your perception, changing of your mind, so you no longer believe in all of these illusions that seem to happen in this physical universe of time and space. You raise yourself up through that into the true self. Focus on that, he's saying, and the rest will take care of itself. So if you start becoming more and more identified with the true self, then it's inevitable that you will one day merge into pure formless awareness of perfect love. You'll just become that. But there's a journey to get there. It's saying, so let's focus on that journey. What do you have to do? Well, you have to operate this Holy Trinity system through radical forgiveness or letting go to operate it. And so he's saying, focus on that and not on the knowledge that lies beyond it. Because that knowledge will come when you're ready, as he said. Knowledge will return when I've done my part. I'm concerned only with giving welcome to the truth. Okay, so number 4. Happy with number 3, Ellen?
Yep, yes. Mine are the eyes through which my true self's vision sees a world free from every thought of sin. Mine are the ears that hear the voice for perfect love proclaim the world is innocent. Ours are the minds, the minds that join together as we bless the world, and from the oneness that we have attained, we call to all our companions, asking them to share our peace and confirm our joy. So we're, it's just saying we're now the ears and the eyes of the true self, and it sees the world free and hears the same, the voice from perfect love, and only is innocent. And all our minds are joined together to bless this world. And from this oneness, we can call to all our companions, asking them to share this peace and joy.
Yeah. Very comforting. Again, he brings in our companions, saying we join together in this holy perception. From the oneness we have attained, we call to all our companions, ask them to share our peace and confirm our joy. So emphasizing that it's a shared experience. We're all sharing in this holy perception, enlightened perception. And as I mentioned before, this is what sets the Course apart from pretty much every other spiritual path, is its focus on pure relationships as the way of awakening. the mechanism of doing this is to perceive clearly that you are one with others, that you're not separate, that you're joined with them. And so that mindset, that blesses the world. Just being in that mindset blesses everyone with your presence. Okay, so any other thoughts on number 4?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Number 5 then, we
Yeah.
are the messengers of perfect love.
We are the innocent messages of perfect love who speak for it and carrying its message to everyone whom it has sent to us. We learn that it is written on our hearts, and so our minds are changed about the aim for which we came and choose to serve. I bring a happy message to the extension of perfect love, which thought it suffered. Now we are free. And as I become more and more aware of the state of pure formless awareness, I will enter fully into it, and my separated self-concept will disappear in the pure formless awareness of perfect love. So it's saying we're the innocent messages of this perfect love, and we carry this message to everyone and learn it's actually written on all our hearts. And our separate self-concept will disappear into this pure formless awareness of perfect love. So it's just once we become more aware of this state of pure formless awareness, we will then enter fully without this separate self-concept. That'll disappear.
Yeah, exactly. This separated self-concept will simply disappear into nothingness from which it came. And only pure formless awareness will be left. So eventually, when we look at the diagram, we go from the true self being just in a state where we perceive everything correctly, and we become more and more aware of the state of pure formless awareness as we correct our perception. Eventually, God takes the final step, means that this state of awareness becomes so deeply rooted in us that it becomes, in the end, the only state of awareness that we're capable of. The more you go into it, the more you realize that this is it. This is true reality. And do you really want anything else? If this state of awareness is completely whole, you feel connected, you feel peaceful, you feel joyful, you feel even bliss, why would you choose any other state? Doesn't really make sense to do that, does it?
No. No.
So experientially, you learn this. The more you practice letting go, the more you identify with your true self through that process of correcting your perceptions, the more this awareness starts to arise in your mind naturally, because the Christ, or the true self, is an extension of this awareness. It comes from pure formless awareness of perfect love. From this perfect oneness, this idea of oneself extends. Do you see that? That's why we call it the extension. The underlying awareness is just pure formless awareness of perfect love. This is an extension of it. It's still conceptual. It's the idea of oneself, that I am oneself, and actually we share the same self. So you're still talking at the true self level of a concept. It's not just pure awareness, but it's the one concept that unites you, that takes you back home to pure formless awareness of perfect love. It doesn't disturb your peace. Does that make sense?
It does. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Okay, so any other thoughts on the lesson? I think just the final note is your separated self-concept will disappear. So there will be no ego left, no separate self-concept left, and that obviously the ego finds unacceptable. Can't accept that, because then it wouldn't exist. So that's why we have such resistance to this course. Because we cease to exist as any kind of separate person, which is what we think of as ourselves. This is who we are, this is our existence, this is our life. I'm a person with various qualities and characteristics that are unique to that person. I have a name, I have an identity here, I have a family, I have career, I have special relationships that define me. And this course is saying, well, none of that's true, and it's all just going to disappear into pure formless awareness of perfect love if you continue on this path. And the ego says, no, absolutely not. We don't want to do that, because this is you. Separated self-concept is you. Don't you forget it. So that's what it comes down to. It's a struggle between self-concepts. Do you think you're a separate self, or do you think you're one self? And that's the level of the miracle. At that core level, the miracle takes place or doesn't. If you look at this diagram, shows quite well. So at the very core, the desire or prayer of the heart, the ego's desire is to be a separate self. The Holy Spirit says, no, I'm one self. And so those ideas become the foundation of the thought system that then ripples up through the levels of mind, through belief, thought, and emotion to perception. But it's a core decision. Am I one self in this situation? Am I going to choose that? Or am I going to choose to be a separate self? And that's where the level of the miracle is, at that level, core level of decision. And you see why you can't reconcile it, because you can't be both. I can't be separate, a separate self and separate from everyone else and everything else, and at the same time, one self. Because they contradict each other. If I'm separate, then I'm not one, and if I'm one, then I'm not separate. So they're mutually exclusive realities, choices, and thought systems. And Yeshua's training us through this course to discern, to see what the choices are honestly, and then make the right choice.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
It's actually very logical. I mean, that's what I love about this course.
Yeah, it is.
It's very logical. The principles, it's not a great mystery. It's actually trying to demystify it. That's the whole point. Make it very easily understandable and accessible. No mystery to it. It's just at the end, it's a choice. Do I want to be one self, or do I want to be a separate self? And that choice will dictate everything. From those two different choices come different thought systems, different worlds, different realities.
There was a video with David Hoffmeister. Oh, sorry. He was talking about it being everything was a perceptual problem. Sorry, I've got an urgent call I'll have to take. I'll just Give me 2 seconds there, sorry.
Okay. I will get some tea. Just saying, top up. Yeah. When you leave. All right. How you doing, Elaine? Are you back?
Sorry, just 2 seconds. It's just we're trying to locate something. I'll just be 2 minutes there. Sorry.
All
Right. Yeah, I'm back now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back.
All right. So let's go into today's lesson.
Yeah.
So this is lesson 359.
Yeah.
Getting to the end of the lessons almost.
Yeah. Okay, so shall I read that now?
Yeah, read
God's
the original
God's,
note.
yeah, God's answer is in some form of peace. All pain is healed, all misery replaced with joy, all prison doors are opened, and all sin is understood as merely a mistake. Perfect love's answer is some form of peace. All my pain is healed and all my misery replaced with joy, because I have let go of all limiting beliefs and understood that sin is merely a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, so prison doors are opened is you've let go of your own limiting beliefs and just understood that the idea of sin. Remember, sin is an error that is made real and permanent and punishable.
Yeah.
It's just a mistake. It's not real, certainly not permanent, it's not punishable. You made a mistake. As David Hoffman says, it's a little oops. Oops, made a bit of a mistake there, but it doesn't matter because it's just a mistake. I don't have to believe in that mistake anymore. I don't have to honor that mistake. I don't have to make that mistake again. And the ego only continues to exist because we think that the mistake is real and the mistake is permanent. That's why we have the concept of original sin in many religions. Because the mistake is seen to be permanent and real. And sin is worshipped as some kind of idol. In the Catholic Church, especially, there's this idea, well, you're always going to be a sinner. We're born into sin. We're original sinners. And Jesus is here to save us, but we're still sinners. Doesn't really make much sense, does it? If you look at it, it's like, well, either you're saved and you're free and you're liberated from it, or not. But you can't be both. So again, it comes down to a choice. You choose to let go of the idea of sin or not. Right, so you can read this first and only paragraph of the lesson in the original and then the alternative sentence by sentence.
Yeah. Father, today we will forgive your world and let creation be your own. My source, today I let go of the world and let reality be your own. We have misunderstood all things. I have misunderstood all things. But we have not made sinners of the holy sons of God. But I have not made sinners of the innocent extensions of perfect love. What you created, sinless, so abides forever and forever. What you extend to be innocent lives forever in innocence. Such are we, such are we. And we rejoice to learn that we have made mistakes which have no real effects on us. And I rejoice to learn that I have made mistakes which have no real effects on me or anyone. Sin is impossible. And on this fact, forgiveness rests upon a certain base more solid than the shadow world we see. Sin is impossible, and on this fact, letting go rests on a certain foundation more solid than the false world I perceive. Help us forgive, for we would be redeemed. Help me to let go, for I want to be free. Help us forgive, for we would be at peace. Help me let go, for I choose to be at peace. And from the top, my source today, I let go of the world and let reality be your own. I have misunderstood all things, but I have not made sinners of the innocent extensions of perfect love. What you extend to be innocent lives forever in innocence. Such are we, and I rejoice to learn that I have made mistakes which have no real effects on me or anyone. Sin is impossible, and on this fact, letting go rests on a certain foundation more solid than the false world I perceive. Help me let go, for I want to be free. Help me let go, for I choose to be at peace. So it's just saying, the source is, we're asking the source today to teach us to let go of the world and let reality be be like yours, your own, like your source, because we've misunderstood everything, all things, and we've made sinners of our extensions, of our innocent extensions, and we rejoice to learn that it was a mistake and has no real effects, because sin is impossible. So just letting go rests on certain foundation more solid than the false world we see. So we're asking the source to help us to let go, because we want to be free, because we want peace. We choose peace.
Yeah, I choose peace. Choose to be at peace. And letting go is the only way to attain peace. This is what he's saying. You can try as you might with other ways, but there is no other way. The only way you'll find peace is if you let go of what disturbs your peace. It's completely obvious, isn't it? It should be obvious. Okay, well, let go of what disturbs your peace, and then you'll find peace. But that goes so deep. That disturbance of our peace is entrenched in this world. We disturbed our peace when we decided to be a separate self. And that disturbance then was manifested in the Big Bang. Let's have a look at this diagram again. So the moment we disturbed our inner peace with this idea of separation, everything that came from that idea was a further disturbance of peace. See that? So the entire world is based on a disturbance of peace, which is why the world is not peaceful. It's a projection of the disturbance of inner peace. Imagine the mind energy that it took to project this world out and create this physical universe. It's a massive explosion of energy they call the Big Bang. Well, that's like a serious disturbance of peace to do that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What would disturb your peace so much? But this idea of separation, it completely contradicts the truth. But now you believe in it, and your peace is shattered, as he says. Of course, your peace is shattered and fragmented and scattered to all ends of this universe. Now we try and find some kind of happiness and peace and satisfaction in a world that's based on the disturbance of peace. Its premise, the fundamental premise of this world and this universe, is that your peace has been disturbed. This is real. This has really happened. So therefore there's guilt and sin attached. You've destroyed, will be punished for this apparent sin by a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God who's apparently outside of you. And that whole thought system disturbs your peace big time, doesn't it? You keep thinking that way, your peace is continuously disturbed. So we have to change that. Recognize that the disturbance of peace is not helpful, and choose again. Which is what this lesson helps us do. Each lesson is a lesson in choosing again. Help us forgive, for we would be at peace. That's very clear. Help me let go, for I want to be free. Okay, so any other thoughts on that?
That's good.
Okay, so that's the lesson. Shall we do a meditation on it? Let me see if I can round Kim up. Said she wanted to do the meditation. So give me a
Yes.
give me a moment.
No rush.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. So let me just get ready for the med. All right. I'm going to close this. Close the door. All right. Where are you gonna? Do you want to sit on the couch? Or where do you want to sit? Okay. Really comfortable. Comfortable. Okay. So this is a meditation on today's lesson 359. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench your sphincter muscle. It's the muscle you use to track the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Locks the energy in. It's the root lock in yoga. Breathing in to the chest, your heart center. Put one hand on your heart just to connect with your heart space. So bringing your attention inward. This first breath. Breathing in again. Feel this lovely warm wave of energy rising up the spine into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind. Just noticing any thoughts going on there, any emotions, related emotions, any body sensations, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. Into that. And remind yourself of today's lesson. Perfect love's answer is some form of peace. All my pain is healed, all my misery replaced with joy. Because I have let go of all limiting beliefs and understood that sin is merely a mistake. And so you exhale, and just blow away all of these delusions with the breeze of your breath, blowing them away into the nothingness that they already are. It's going, gone. Low stomach to spine. Feel into your chest. Finding some peace, some stillness at the bottom of the exhale. You're just going to breathe in and out through your nose. Just deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. Breathing in through your nostrils. In and out through your nostrils. You just breathe in. And you breathe out. You notice how the stomach rises. So you breathe in, the subtle flow of air in through your nostrils. And the process reverses as you exhale. So the stomach sucks back in. Air flows out of your nostrils. Chest and the stomach suck back in. Getting more and more relaxed with each breath. Just sinking deeper and deeper. It's very still, calm, relaxed, surrendered state. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do. So breathe, relax, be still. Listen to these words of this lesson as you continue watching your breath. If you want to, you can say them aloud. To yourself after I say them. So you breathe in. Deep inhale breath. Pause at the top of the inhale. Listen to these words. My Father, or my source, today I'll forgive or let go of the world and let reality be your own. So exhale, and just repeat that. To my source, today I let go of the world and let reality be your own. Say it out loud if you want. It's an affirmation of the truth. Breathing in again. So I've misunderstood all things. Say that aloud or just in your own mind. Just, I have misunderstood all things. I've misunderstood everything. Breathing in again through those. But I have not made sins. The innocent extensions of perfect love. I have not made sinners in the innocent extensions of perfect love. It's not possible to do that. Breathing in again. Once you extend to be innocent, lives forever in innocence. Breathing in again. Once you extend to be innocent, lives forever in innocence. So feel your innocence, breathe it into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Breathing in again. Such are we, perfectly innocent. And I rejoice. So you breathe in again. Breathe in this joy that I have made mistakes which have no real effects on me or anyone. Feel that joy, breathe it into every pore, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Sin is impossible. And on this fact, letting go rests on a certain foundation. Sin is impossible. This fact, letting go rests on a certain foundation, more solid than the false world I perceive. So letting go rests on its foundations. Help me let go. Just make a request to your source, your own true self, for help to let go. Help me let go. I want to be free. Breathe in that freedom to every pore, every cell, muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Help me let go, for I want to be free. Help me let go, for I choose to be at peace. Say those words. So surrender into the peace. Where else to go and wants to do. So just watch your breath. Observe the breath, breathing in, breathing out. Just happening to you, through you, and for you. There's no effort, no stressing, straining, or striving. All that's been let go of. And sinking inwards. Observe the breath flowing in and out. And just sit quietly in this peaceful state that is beyond all sin. All sin, all sense of having done anything wrong. Getting more and more relaxed with each breath. Letting go, just sinking inward to this deep inner state of mind, deep connection to your source, who you really are. Any thoughts come up, seem to disturb this deep peace, just observe them. Just breathing in and breathing out. And just let them go with the breath. Reminding yourself that perfect love's answer is some form of peace. All my pain is healed. all my misery, placed with joy. As I let go of all limiting beliefs and understood that sin is just a mistake. Just sink into this peace for a few minutes of deep, peaceful silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe in and out through your nose. You observe the breath. Your mind, clear, calm, and aware, and peaceful. into this deep peace. Just let these words drop. This is a poem from Helen Shackman, author of A Course in Miracles. She wrote a number of poems related to the teachings. This one's called Alternatives. The fantasy of pain, the dream of death, the cry of agony, the shadow breath. Just keep watching your breath as you listen. Such is the world you see. Is this your choice? To be the substitution for God's voice? There's an answer to all questions here. An instant when the world will disappear. Perceptions pass, however sure they seem. For Christ, your true self, has put his ending on the dream. Just feel the power of those words to end your dream. Pain and suffering, sickness and death. To transcend this whole mortal realm and fly away. And just fly away into this deep peace, which ends the dream forever. And Christ, to your true self, is fully realized. Finally comes to know who you are. And just experience this Christ presence, this true self, in the ending of the dream as deep peace for another couple of minutes of deep silence. So just gently bringing your awareness back into the body and the breath and the senses, and via that into the world. Now on the count of 3, you need to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Observe thoughts, emotions, related body sensations. Breathe into all of that. Breathing peace into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. Every fiber of your being is in this deep peace. It comes from stillness. Peace of God, it's been called, it surpasses all understanding. And exhale. Just let go of anything that still disturbs your peace. Any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations, just dropping it all. The breath, notice how the air flows out. The mouth, the chest, and the stomach suck back in. And as it subsides back down from front of your head all the way down your front channel, down through the knees. And to rest, bottom of the exhale. Feel the weight of your body. Count to 2, pressing down into the chair. And your feet touching the ground, noticing what you're feeling. Your hands touching, maybe there's a subtle flow of air on your skin. Feeling in, notice that air flowing into your nostrils. Let's do all this without any judgments. There's no naming, judging, labeling of anything. Just allow everything to be without any mental interpretation. You don't name, label, judge things. All that's left Just noticing there's objects in the room. But without any judgment. Just observe. Notice how peaceful you feel. Look at any object and look at another one. It's the same underlying peace. Doesn't really matter what the object is. Close your eyes briefly, experience the peace within. You open your eyes. Notice that it's the same peace. Nothing's really changed. So your inner state of peace is unaffected by anything that you perceive in this world. So just anchor the state of peace in and deeply. Decide to stay there for the rest of the day because it's a choice. And continue on with your day in this hopefully much more peaceful, connected state. So that brings us to the end of the meditation. And mine seems to have gone, so I think I disconnected briefly. So there's just a poem to do actually, which is very short. Do you want to read that? We'll just finish the session with that.
Okay.
Can you come on this side? So this is a poem from Helen Schuckman. So this is a poem from Helen Schuckman, who's the author of the course. Actually, let me just share my screen because we're not sharing screen anymore. She wrote a number of these poems. Which have been published this month. 30 poems, so just selected one. They're quite good actually, and they're related to the course material. This wasn't channeled, this was her own poetry, which are just short ideas around the course material. You want to read that?
Okay.
Fantasy of Pain. This one's called Alternatives.
A fantasy of pain, a dream of death, a cry of agony, a shallow breath. Such is the world you see. Is this your choice to be the substitution for God's voice? There is an answer to all questions here. An instant where the world will disappear. Perceptions pass, however sure they seem. For Christ has put his ending on the dream.
Yeah, it's a lovely passage. So any thoughts on that?
Fantasy of pain, dream of death. So it's almost like the words are kind of trying to make it look good, the bad look good. Fantasy of pain, a dream of death, cry of agony, a shallow breath. So it's not painting a nice picture of the world that we see. Do you want to choose this to substitute for God's voice, which, since we've just
Voice
done
for
the
perfect love.
yeah,
That voice,
or
if you
at
experience,
peace.
if you experience peace,
I'm saying I've just come out of
Hmm.
meditation.
well,
going
that
to
that
peace,
voice
and
speaks
that's the
for
voice.
this deep peace.
Yeah.
Do you prefer this world and what it offers to that state of deep peace? That's the question. That's the alternative choice. You must choose between these alternatives.
That's a substitution. However, there's an answer to the questions. An instant where the world would disappear is that if you reach that place of peace in that instant, the world disappears.
Yeah, so you can go into a state where there is no world. So a revelatory experience. If we look at here, this is pure formless awareness of perfect love. The top level is better to show it in this way. So it's the top level domain. So if you go into this state of mind, pure formless awareness of perfect love, in that state, if you're fully in it, the world disappears. There's no perception anymore of anything outside of yourself. We go there every night. We sleep. World disappears, and we might dream, and it's another world. In dreamless sleep, the world's disappeared. But when it happens in a waking state, then that can become a revelatory experience. So I've had a couple of these kinds of experiences where, literally in that state, there's no world. You're just in this blissful awareness, and there's no sense of time, there's no world.
Is that the instant?
Yeah, that's what she's talking about. Yeah.
So it's almost like in the perspective of time, it might just seem like a moment, but it's actually going in, it's forgetting that.
Yeah, I mean, the
exists.
experiences didn't last very long, and I don't know how long they lasted because there was no sense of time. But it didn't last all day. It was maybe a few minutes. But in that time, there was no time and there was no space. There was nothing else. It was just a pure awareness, which is why I came up with the word pure formless awareness, because that's all I could really say about what was it. There was no absolute positive quality. Oh, it was this or it was this. It was something, but there was no thing to it. It's just an awareness. So she's referring to to that state of mind, the holy state, revelatory state. Actually, let's just go back here. And pointing us with these quite powerful words. Poetry is powerful because it's very short and brief and to the point, pointing us into the ending of the dream, an instant. So the Course would call that the holy instant, when the world will disappear. Perceptions pass, however pure, however sure they seem. So whatever you seem to perceive here, perception will pass away, and Christ has put his ending on the dream. So your true self, or Christ, leads you to the ending of the dream. As we show here, the true self transcends the dream and ultimately ends the dream. The ego knows that. So if you're trying to let go and raise yourself up into the true self's awareness, it's going to resist that process as much as it can. Because if it keeps you in the domain of the separate self, then it keeps you separate. It keeps you away from this. So it knows that if you experience this, it's so wonderful that why would you go back into the ego? Why would you choose to stay in this crazy reality, time and space, when you can experience that deep peace? And that's why it resists things like meditation and spiritual practice, why people struggle to meditate.
Yeah.
Because you sit and it's like the ego's doing its thing, going, no, no, go back here. Think about your story. Think about what's going on the timeline of consciousness. Where's that gone? It's just yeah. Where's my cursor on?
Okay.
It's just trying to. So it wants to keep you rooted on this timeline in time and space, identified as a character in the dream. And all these experiences, events are real. And so the ego is trying to keep you very much rooted on there in the psychological and emotional attachments, and letting go frees you. Letting go raises you up above that, above the battleground, into this transcendent awareness where none of that really matters anymore. It's still going on some level, but it doesn't matter anymore. It's not that important. It doesn't have the power to negatively affect you. And you can just look on all the drama of this world and on your life with detachment. That's why we practice when we come up. Just look at it and don't judge it. Because if you do that, then there's only peace. You can only be at peace if you're not judging. Only the mind's interpretations disturb our peace.
So that's where you let go, where you practically try and let things pass, but not the spiritual bypassing point of view.
Yeah, so the spiritual bypassing says you've got to really deal with it. You can't just gloss over it. If there's thoughts and emotions there that are buried in your subconscious, you won't go, I'm fine. It's got to come up. Be experienced. So you might experience the pain and the trauma, but then you let it go. Having experienced it, that's not bypassing it. That's directly letting go of it. Going into a state of peace when before you were in pain of sorts. And in that transformation is the miracle. That's the change of mind that this course is about. So you've turned, your egoic attachment and a very negative state into a positive one through this process of letting go, which involves a choice. You must look on all the negativity and say, this isn't true. As this, what I like about this poem is she's saying there's a choice. Is this your choice to be the substitution for God's voice?
Yeah, and there is an answer to all questions. I think questions being, is there another way? Maybe.
Yeah, any question. I mean, there's no questioning in pure formless awareness. There's no question, it just is. It's a perfect state. The questions come when you're not sure. What about this? What about that?
No, and what you said, the answer, peace, love.
The answer lies in that absolutely peaceful state, which maybe you touched in the meditation. It's like, well, there's no questioning. It's just a state of peace. Our challenge is to accept that state of peace. Okay, I accept that. That's actually all there is. I'm just peaceful for all eternity. It's nothing else. Ego has a huge problem with it, because of course it ceases to exist.
Yeah.
If there was just that peaceful awareness, there's no separation, there's no drama, there's none of the chaos that goes on here. So it tries to keep you away from that peace and caught up in the drama of the world, because that's where it exists, and that's where it will continue to exist until you are able to let it go fully. So she's pointing here to a state that transcends it and talking about the holy instant, an instant, a moment where you go into that peace and you only experience that peace. It's totally transcendent. When the world will disappear, that is a glimpse of heaven. That gives you a taste, foretaste of what heaven will be like. And if you experience it even once, and I've had this experience, you transform. You're like, well, I know that it exists because I've experienced it.
Yeah.
So I can't deny it anymore. It's not theoretical, intellectual. It was an actual experience. Well, if I could experience it that once, it's possible that I could experience it again and again. And maybe, as this course is saying, that is my true state.
Yeah.
I just accessed for that brief time that true state. And when you do that, that ends the dream. In that moment, the dream is over. Yes, you still come back into a body and form, and the dream continues because it's, we're deeply entrenched in it. But you have a way out. You've seen it. You've perceived it. Right? Understand that there's something else. And that's what the mystics of this world have done. They've had the experience. They go, I know because I've had the experience.
Yeah.
It's not just theoretical, intellectual, or I learned it from a book. It's no, I know for sure that it's there because I've actually experienced it. And that's what distinguishes them from a theologian or a philosopher who's just, I can understand it conceptually. Yet Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven. Conceptually, okay, you can study that all you like. You can talk about the kingdom of heaven and what it means, but until you've had the experience of it, you actually don't know it. Have you ever watched The Chosen?
The first series.
Yeah, so I think in the first series there was when he went to meet Nicodemus. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a
very
classic
powerful, yeah.
of a mystic versus the theologian. Nicodemus is a theologian. He understands the Torah. He's at the top of his game. He's well respected because he has the intellectual knowledge, but he doesn't have what Yeshua has, and he knows he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I want to know, I want to speak to you because you have something, this knowledge of God, direct experience that I don't have. And so he's fascinated. He's like, you have, even though you're younger and you don't have the same status in the Jewish, structure, you have something that I yearn for because he knows that he's very limited in his understanding and he wants more. At least he's open to more.
Yeah, very powerful. I mean,
Was.
reading that as well.
Yeah.
Passage in the Bible on that.
Yeah. Did you go and read the afterwards? Oh. So you see these things, demonstrated to show, the truth of this. That ultimately this course is trying to make us all into, as Yeshua was, we become. It's trying to make us into that mystic Christ figure. Whereas the church typically will say, no, he's way above you. You're never going to get to that. Even though he said, quite clearly that we would. He said, you'll do these things that I've done, and even greater things. It's a quote, direct quote from one of the Gospels. But it's kind of been overlooked because what it's saying is that don't worship me, don't put me on a pedestal, as Alan Watts says. They pedestalized him. They put him on a pedestal, and they said, there you are. And you're the only son of God, and no one else can attain that because you're the only one. And so we're all just kind of sinners on some lower level. And that, of course, is ego because it's separation. And now you're creating levels that don't exist. And that's not what he taught. It's actually a blasphemy because he didn't teach that at all. It's recorded in the Bible. What he said, you'll do these things that I've done and even greater things. I'm nothing special. I've just accessed the power of the Christ in me, this power of the true self in my own mind. And you can do that too with the right training. That's what he's saying. It can be trained. You can acquire this, which is why he's given us a course in mind training to help us do that. To become as he was, to become the Christ, fully realized who you are. That's what this course is about.
Yeah. Well, Christ has put his ending on the dream, our dream, so that we attain what is and always will be.
Yeah.
Peace, love, perfect love.
So we go, if you look at it diagrammatically, we go from this really pretty disastrous dream of time and space, going from birth to death with various experiences, often not very pleasant. In the end, it leads to death. And Christ ends it because Christ says to us, no, there's ultimately only this, reminds us of this awareness that transcends it and says, you are that awareness. And while you're in this world, you can operate from the true self. You can raise yourself up into an awareness of the true self, which is one self, through true perceptions which come from letting go. And none of the stuff that happens here needs to bother you. So you still perceive, but you perceive from the perspective of perfect oneness that knows that none of this stuff is real. So it becomes the intermediary, it's the bridge. Christ has put his ending on the dream, because the more you identify with your true self or Christ, the more the dream just becomes unreal to you. And eventually it just fades away entirely. As you merge fully into pure formless awareness of perfect love, the dream of perception and time and space fades away. Simply not possible in pure formless awareness of perfect love. But you have to go via the true self. That's what he's saying. Because if you don't identify with the true self and change your perception, how are you going to go from here, very much rooted in time and space and your body and the separate self that you perceive you are, into pure formless awareness of perfect love? And it's a huge gap, a huge chasm. So he's given us the idea of the true self and letting go, or radical forgiveness, to bridge the gap. And that's really what the whole course is about. How do you bridge the gap? He's saying, well, you bridge the gap through this process of letting go, of forgiveness, because that identifies you more and more with the true self. And the more you identify with the true self, the less you identify with the world and your separate self. Eventually, you're so identified with the true self that pure formless awareness of perfect love, which underlies it, that's why it's the extension, just arises. You merge back into that because you've just done it so often. And the more you do it, the more this awareness is cultivated. And so eventually you're ready just to completely let go and merge into it. God takes the final step. That doesn't mean it's like, boom, bing, there we go, tap you with a wand and suddenly it's just like, well, you've just merged, surrendered into it. So completely surrendered that all that's left is this awareness. And there's no resistance to this awareness anymore. It's, that's just so, I don't want anything else. Just surrender into that.
There's still this body. Are you saying it's still possible like that? Or you just...
Yeah, there are people who've done it. Yeshua, Ramana Maharshi. So they hang around in a body for a while, but there's no identification with the body. So that's the state of samadhi. This could also be called samadhi. In the East, they'll go into deep meditation, sometimes for days, weeks. And there's just this pure formless awareness. There's no awareness of the world. And, Ramana was so deep in samadhi that his disciples had to clean insects off it, because he's just flies all over him. He's disconnected from his body and his senses. He's so deep in the samadhi that really he's not perceiving that anymore. So they had to okay, we're going to make sure that he doesn't get eaten alive.
Yes.
Let's just make sure that he's, the insects aren't chowing him. Kind of funny, boy. He comes out of samadhi, he's like, oh, there's a hole in my leg because an insect's been burrowing in or something. But it's not bothered. And apparently he had an operation. It was quite a major operation. It was just a local. They wanted to give him a general anesthetic. He said no, because I want to be aware. So he's having this, I don't know, I think his stomach was opened up, some major major operation with a local anesthetic, and the surgeon's like blown away. He's like, I've never seen anyone do this before, and anyone who's so calm. It's like, I'm really just not bothered at all. You're cutting open my stomach, and he's fully aware, and he's no general. He had a local.
Oh, okay.
The surgeon was like, I'm not operating on you unless you have some anesthetic. But he probably would have been okay, even without it, because he was so disidentified from his body that the pain would have just been like, well, it's just a sensation, and I'm not really bothered by it. But is that level? He said, I've never seen anything like it. This guy's so not attached to his body that he can just be there, and I'm cutting open his guts, and it's really just completely peaceful, as though nothing's happening. He's having a chat to the surgeon. It's like, so that's that is the benefit of going totally into the self, and that's what Ramana taught. He said the self, he called it, is your salvation. If you can identify with the self, then you disidentify from your ego and the world, and that is the pathway to enlightenment. So it's the same that the Advaita Vedanta tradition, Eastern tradition, is the same as the Course. It's saying the same thing. What the Course has is a unique perspective on how to do it. Advaita, I don't think, is as clear. Ramana talked about identifying with the true self. How do you actually do that? You must disidentify from the false self. So you must let go of what is false. And that's where the letting go of forgiveness comes in. And the practice of that, and then a detailed course, mind training course, to help you to do that systematically, progressively. That's what makes the course unique. So there's a methodology to actually do this. How do you identify with your true self? Well, you let go of whatever is disturbing your peace. That's how you do it.
Okay, Jono, thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
So I think let's end the session there. Lane's gone. So
okay.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you to anyone who listened on the live stream. If you'd like to find out more about this, we're about to start on a 1-year program. It actually starts with a 6-week course. So join us for our next. In fact, it'll be the first day of the course. Go to theaolg.com, sign up there, register, and you can find out more about it and join us live. You can also get access to some of the material I showed you on Telegram every day if you go to lifebuild.com. Sign up for that and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done that. So I hope to see you on the inside soon. Namaste. Thanks for hosting this, Kim. Namaste.
Thank you.
So the true self in us, Christ in us, acknowledges and honors that same true self or Christ in you. Peace.
Peace.